Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, Appeal Court in Port Harcourt returns Ali Modu Sharif as National Chairman of the PDP as Ahmed Makarfi Group heads for the Supreme Court to challenge the decision. Tragedy as a luxury bus from the east plunges into Owode River in Lagos. 3 people are killed. Attempts to wreak havoc on Maiduguri city fails as 7 suicide bombers on a deadly mission all die after police foil multiple attacks. And former British Prime Minister Tony Blair advises country to rethink the Brexit decision.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's overnight lending rate surges to 25% as the central bank mops up liquidity via treasury bills and bond purchases. On sports news tonight, Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger rules out retiring at the end of his 20-year reign at the Emirates.
And from Abuja, federal government to concession Nigeria Railway Corporation set to open bid process.
We begin with the verdict of the Appeal Court on the People's Democratic Party leadership contest. The Appeal Court in Port Harcourt today sacked the caretaker committee headed by Senator Ahmed Makarfi, calling it illegal. Therefore, it cannot act on behalf of the PDP. The Ali Modu Sharif leadership of the party was dissolved by some leaders of the party at a national convention held in Port Harcourt last year. It was the outcome of the convention which led to the intense legal battle. Our political correspondent Sheung Okimbaloe reports.
This is where the battle all started. May 2016, the PDP National Convention in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Confusion enveloped the city with disagreement over the leadership of the party due to a series of court cases to stop the convention. Senator Ali Modu Sharif-led National Working Committee was then dissolved.
Your Excellencies.
Senator Sharif on his own says the convention could not hold and he has called it off. A large-scale political chaos in the party. Since then, the legal war ensued and the center could not hold any longer for the PDP. From Abuja to Lagos and to Port Harcourt, court cases begin to fly left, right and center. The latest is the case at the Appeal Court in Port Harcourt. The court granted Senator Sharif's prayers with 2 of the 3-member panel ruling in favor of the Senator Sharif faction. Senator Ahmed Makarfi loses out. Senator Sharif emerges victorious. But for the Sharif group, the judgment is an opportunity to get together once again to move the party forward.
Now the time for us to come together to ask for true reconciliation when we go back and then do everything humanly possible to reconcile the party.
But for the Senator Ahmed Makarfi group, the judgment is simply unacceptable.
The judgment without considering most of the issues, and I believe they did a major disservice not only to PDP but to Nigerian democracy. And I believe that will be overturned at the Supreme Court, because certainly we are going to appeal, and at the Court of Appeal we are very certain. At the Supreme Court we are going to be victorious.
The Court of Appeal is not a finish line in this matter, and the Senator Makarfi group insists they will seek redress at the Supreme Court. But for now, the verdict is that Senator Sharif will be the national chairman of the party, at least until the Apex Court says otherwise. Sheung Okimbaloe, Channels Television News.
Now, the Ali Modu Sharif leadership may have won the PDP leadership tussle at the Appeal Court, but it appears the battle is not over yet. But that's because the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, Governor Ayodele Fayose, has vowed that the Makarfi Caretaker Committee is set to appeal the Port Harcourt judgment. According to him, the reinstatement of Senator Sharif as the chairman of the party by the Appeal Court is an affront on democracy.
The outcome of the Port Harcourt Court of Appeal judgment that reinstated Ali Modu Sharif as chairman against the will of the people is nothing but a raid on our democracy. If the people truly symbolizes what a party is, then the machination of our detractors and the anti-democratic forces will not prevail at last. Let me commend the minority judgment of the appeal court, and I believe the truth will prevail. It's a matter of time. Let's thank God we have another level to seek justice, which is the Supreme Court, which I believe will not be delayed or denied.
Governor Ayodele Fayose is not the only one kicking against the appeal court judgment, as the Forum of Former Ministers of the People's Democratic Party has also rejected the verdict, affirming Senator Ali Modu Sheriff as the chairman of the party. Chairman of the Forum and former Minister of Special Duties, Mr. Kabiru Turaki, who addressed the news conference in Abuja, said that the Forum has advised the leadership of the party to head to the Supreme Court to challenge the judgment.
The Ministers' Forum are an integral part of the stakeholders and part of the organs of the party. And so what we are saying is that as one of the critical stakeholders, we feel that the party should meet and take a decision to appeal against that judgment, even as we await the outcome of the committee we've set up to obtain, study, and then advise us on all options available to us as a party from that judgment. So whatever decision we think at the end of the day that should be taken, including and not necessarily limited to the issue of appealing against the state judgment, will be one that will have to be discussed and agreed upon by Ministers' Forum in consultation with our stakeholders. But this is our position, that the PDP as a party should appeal against that judgment because we feel that it was given per incurium.
Away from politics, at least 3 people have been confirmed dead after a 60-seater luxury bus plunged into a river at Owode area of Lagos State in the early hours of today. The bus, said to have been travelling from the eastern part of the country, was on its way to Lagos when the accident occurred. Several rescue agencies, including the National Emergency Management Agency and the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, helped to rescue some of the passengers from the river. The General Manager of LASIMA, Mr. Tiamiyu Adesina, explains how they carried out the operation.
When residents of Owode suburb in the Ikorodu area of Lagos went to bed Thursday night, they had no inkling they would wake up to a tragic start of a new day. While most residents were still in the comfort of their beds, a luxury bus, said to have been traveling from the eastern part of the country, crashed into the Owode River, killing 2 passengers and the bus conductor. Officials of the National Emergency Management Authority, the Lagos State Emergency Management Authority, as well as other first responders, were on ground to carry out rescue operations as hundreds of sympathizers look on. As it is with tragedies of this nature, the cause of the accident remains unclear, but the General Manager of LASIMA, Mr. Adesina Tiamiyu, gives an on-the-spot assessment.
On getting to the scene here, we discovered that a luxurious bus plunged into the Owode Lady water body here, and our men commenced recovery operations immediately. The initial assessment was that the road demarcation here, the driver probably did not understand the road very well, and came to that junction suddenly, applying the brake. The first set of people that we brought out, so many of them had injuries, which they were treated here by the paramedics team. 2 people died immediately, and we recovered their bodies. We followed up with a recovery of the vehicles with the loads intact. Another body was recovered from the waterbed, reportedly that of the motorboat. So in total, provisionally, we have 3 dead bodies.
Ukpo Richard, who boarded the bus from Benin, however, has another version of how the accident happened.
I boarded the bus from Benin. On our way coming, there was traffic in Shagamu. We have to turn back and follow the Ikorodu road. So unfortunately, when we were getting, the driver was on high speed. So accidentally, he shoot out of the one way and hit the pavement. Then the next, I started seeing the car somersaulting like 4 times. Then next thing, we found ourselves inside the ditch of the canal.
The driver of the ill-fated bus is inconsolable, even as the Lasema managing director sounds a note of warning.
We want to appeal to drivers. The standard rule in driving is where you don't know, a route that you have never driven through, you cut down your speed. And this is inside of Lagos, not on the highway. Even though it's an express road, it's inside of Lagos. We expect drivers to observe the standard speed limit, so that even when anything like this happens, you'll be able to control the vehicle.
The expectations here is that relevant agencies of government would not only unravel the cause of the accident, but would put in place measures that would prevent same from happening in future.
A very sad one there. And about 100 million people will be added to the world's Poor People's Index by the year 2030 unless world leaders take urgent steps to implement policies aimed at mitigating the effects of climate change. This is according to the World Bank, which has attributed these statistics to the effects of climate change as well in Nigeria. An official of the bank made this known at a forum in Abuja, organized as part of efforts by the government to create awareness on climate change.
Recently, some states in Nigeria, especially those along the coast of River Niger, experienced severe flooding, leading to loss of livelihoods. Environmentalists attribute some of these experiences to climate change. Hence, governments are thinking about how to mitigate its effects. This forum, organized by the World Bank and the Ministry of Environment in Abuja, is part of efforts by the government to create awareness on climate change. In his presentation, the representative of the World Bank warns about the dangers of not taking serious steps to address the issues of climate change by the year 2030.
By 2030, in a business-as-usual scenario, the world may see another 100 million people fall into poverty. These are people who are not poor today. They're actually above the poverty line. But because of climate change, unless things change, unless action is taken, they may become poor. They may join the swelling numbers of poor people around the world.
For the Director Department of Climate Change at the Ministry of Environment, the government needs to make necessary arrangements to deliver on its climate change pledges.
It is therefore obvious that to deliver on our NDC pledges, there is a need to have an appropriate institutional arrangement that will not only mainstream climate change into our development priorities, but also encourage the implementation of mitigation.
Meanwhile, other participants advocate investment in renewable energy.
People will say that solar energy or renewable energy is expensive. Yes, it is expensive at the onset, but over a long period of usage, it has almost zero maintenance cost.
Data at the World Bank reveals that the world's temperature continued to rise at an alarming rate since 1981. Hence, the urgent need to mitigate its effects.
In part two, after the break, a review of the new national health policy released by the Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.